Hey, welcome back, everyone. I hope you are doing exceptionally well. For those that don't know me or this is the first time you're seeing me, I wanted to introduce myself. What's up? My name is Nick Leitch. I am the creator of the Life with Nick YouTube channel and the host of the Life with Nick podcast. Just to be mindful of the time for the people that are viewing me here that kind of know the drill, if you will. I would love for you guys to go to the YouTube channel, watch the introduction video, and from there you'll get a full clean sweep of who I am, what my channel is all about, what my why is, and what the heck you're going to even be getting from me. So, just in order to save your time, in order to save my time, and to know if I'm really for you, I would strongly encourage you to go to that video and just kind of get a clean sweep of me. So, for those that are, in fact, kind of knowing what the procedure is here for this video, I'm going to keep the ball moving. And for the book of the month that we are going to be entertaining, again, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. We just concluded chapter 5, The Power of Rational Thinking, and now on to chapter 6. So, in chapter 5, we hammered on a topic of conversation that involved a lot of rational thinking and the power of rational thinking, right? Sometimes in our life, we just need to write things out and understand what is the rational, logical conclusion to what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about the world, what is true about both of those two things, and kind of everything in between. It is the control knob, in some ways, our conscious mind, that helps us find our way and navigate through the world, and also to improve our self image, which, as we have found throughout this book, improves the better quality of our lives. So, today we're going to flip on the complete other end of that spectrum, and we are going to talk about chapter 6, which is relax and let your success mechanism work for you. So, in one half of the brain is totally this logical, rational, black and white type of information. Some people have more of an inclination to be on this side, they see the world in this way. However, there is this other side, this rainbow, if you will, of the creative mind. And some people have a stronger creative brain. Nothing is right or wrong. We all need to coexist, right? But oftentimes we lose sight of the opposite of which we have. So I would say for myself, I'm naturally a little bit more creative than I am black and white, but I have many friends that I love dearly that are more black and white. And so the cohesion of the creative and the rational minds is what really gels society. And so with chapter 5, we were taking a look at rational logical. In chapter 6, we were looking more creative and just a unique outside the box way of how that side of our brain can help us live a better life. So, the essence of chapter 6, just to really drive the nail in the coffin, is relax and let your success mechanism work for you. Meaning, when all of this is exhausted on the rational logical side, we must trust that there is this second half of our domain that can aid us. And all we need to do to use it properly is to relax and kind of let it flow. So we'll get into it. So now that we've switched gears a little bit, most of the time when we face a difficult problem to solve, if we're wrestling with some issues and basically sometimes we're just getting in our own head too much. We're driving rational, we're driving logical, we're overthinking, we're thinking, and there's only so much we can do in terms of thinking our way through a problem. So again, when all of that is exacerbated, what do we do? And the cool thing is that, and this is written from the author, our creator has provided us with this incredible feature to help us in our journey of solving problems, and that is our creative mechanism. Now, I like to understand words and phrases and how they kind of correspond. So to me, creative mechanism naturally means mechanism in which we have, and it's also something that works for us, but creative, right? So this fun, unpredictable, spontaneous, creative mechanism is brought to us to aid in us and to help us, but also it is designed by our creator, so there is relevant purpose with it. Here's the wonderful relationship. While our forebrain, or our operating brain, is our conscious thinking and our rational mind, we must allow our creative mechanism room to work with us let's not forget about this powerful subconscious creative mechanism. So just to kind of take us in a little bit of a different direction, but still to drive the hammer into the nail. So there's a piece of this chapter that's called "You Are a Creative Worker," and it's more of a statement saying we are this. Okay, so just take some time with me to acknowledge this fact. So you are a creative worker. Another mistake we often make is thinking we're not creative people in general. However, everyone possesses the ability to be creative, some more than others, but all of us have the capacity to be creative, and not only to be creative, but to create. That is the wonderful beauty of things, I think, when we're thinking about both sides of our brain and how we can sync both of them together, is acknowledging we are both of these things. We are both rational and logical, and we are both creative. And so whether you're feeling and listening to this thinking whether I'm left or right or whatever the breakdown is of that, just know that if you are someone that doesn't think they're a creator, doesn't think they're creative, know that you have the wiring in which to enable in yourself, which should be an exciting fact because you are a creator. Now, furthermore, this creative capacity comes in many different forms, but we must acknowledge that we are in fact creative workers. And with that in mind, we can begin to train our creative mind and thinking to help us when solving problems in life. So the big part of this chapter, as I was kind of condensing it and summarizing, is really acknowledging this fact. You are a creator. You are a creative. You have this capacity. And so we must honor this. Now, what is the secret of this natural behavior and skill, of this creativeness? The success mechanism within us can work the same way to produce a creative idea and with that creative solutions. So the creation is the key here. Not only do we possess it, but it has this ability that is creating, producing, synchronizing, all of these very, very cool elements of things to say, okay, we can drive rational and logical as much as we want, but we also have this other thing that is constantly generating and feeling and adhering to the environment in which we're in. And it, along with that, it spits out these ideas, it spits out these perspectives, it spits out this creative creation element to things we're trying to work on. So a good example here is at times, if you're a creative person, you think of things in the context of, if I were to have an open canvas and I am to paint, or if I'm to create digital marketing or some kind of creative endeavor. What's amazing about this is that is that you're generating what it is that you're outputting, right? And then you have other people that may edit, you have other people that you may lean on to do more of the rational, logical steps, but there has to be people, yourself included, that actually come up with things. And that's the cool thing about creativeness, is that you come up with it and then you have the ability to go out and execute it. So why do I even share this? I'm sharing this because if you're someone that doesn't do this per se, like you're not in a creative function, that mechanism is still working for you. It's just helping you solve problems now. It's helping you in sales. It's helping you in compliance. It's helping you communicate. This rainbow side to the black and white is what helps facilitate some of these non-conscious decisions, thoughts, productions, all of this good stuff. So it's really a thing of beauty to know that we have literally this other second servo mechanism to take care of us. And so it's really on the constant lookout for ways it can serve us, whether in the form of creation, whether in the form of creating ideas, producing ideas, or by creating solutions to problems. Now, another kind of way of looking at this, or another element of this, is creative performances. So comedy, singing, music, all of this. Basically, a lot of that is a spontaneous and a natural force versus self-conscious and studied. You don't study your way into like writing a song. You don't like think through in the fact of, oh, I'm going to write a song right now, I'm just going to write it out. It doesn't work like that. It has to be gifted to you. It's spontaneous, and it comes from this brewing pot that is the second servo mechanism. So for us to utilize that, let's say, there is a process of training, working, and developing habits that we can kind of cultivate this creative thinking, whether it's through journaling, whether it's through brainstorming, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through reading. All of this material that we interact with in the world comes into this brewing pot. And then from there, we have our control knob, which is, again, the rational mind. But these things are interacting. And the more we can get into the flow state of being able to connect these two together, the more we'll have peace of mind to relax, to have both of these servo mechanisms working for us and not against us. So to take a step back, let's analyze the secret of creative thinking. So creative thoughts and ideas are not consciously thought about. Obviously, we don't get to access them right away. They come to us, again, automatically, spontaneously, and somewhat like a bolt of electricity. And so here is essentially a situation. So let's say you're going out to coffee with a friend and you've been wrestling with an issue for, let's say, a couple days. You're not really sure what the ultimatum is, but you kind of erase it in your head. And you go out and you're chatting with your friend. You're chatting about the world. You're chatting about where you're at, where they're at, all that good stuff. All of a sudden, they say something that kind of resonates with you, that all of a sudden you get this kind of moment where you're like, oh my God, I think that might be the answer to what I've been working with. I think that might give me a new perspective on how to handle things. And so that, in essence, is that spontaneous creative work coming to fruition. And that's why it's so wonderful, is because we never know when it's going to hit, which might frustrate some people, but that's the nature of the beast. And so we have to trust that it is working for us to help us come up with solutions to get the outcome that we desire. So to get slightly tactical as far as how we're approaching solving problems. So it's easy for us to first take the problem we're facing and develop an intensity towards solving that problem, whether it's an invention, whether it's a math problem, whether it's language or whatever it is. So we're going to use our logical and conscious brain most of the time to just kind of give us the answer in the short term. But if we're really wrestling with something and we're having no success in solving it, another method to help us come up with this can be to switch things completely and go do something that would free up our creative thinking. This could be painting. This could be doing a Sudoku. This could be reading. This could be doing some kind of leisure exercise, zone 2 cardio, running, biking, rowing, swimming. All of those things allows for the channel to be opened up for us to get in that flow state. And in that flow state is when sometimes that conversion takes place of our creative brain helping us solve some of the problems that we have at hand. The magic is to balance that intense thought and conviction with being able to step away into this second servo mechanism to sync it up. So there's a couple different ways in which we can cultivate that relationship. The first one, as I just mentioned, is exercise, but specifically zone 2 cardio. And for those that know what zone 2 cardio is, basically longer form cardio sessions where we are either walking, running, biking, swimming, rowing, whatever it is. The reason that this is because as you're doing those things, you're physically moving your body in not such a strenuous way in which it allows you to get into a flow of things. And in that flow, similar to sleep, is this mixture of, okay, we're physically working on ourselves, we're physically working on our mind, we're physically working on our body, but we're also allowing the channels to sync up between rational and logical, because as you're physically doing something, let's say rowing, right? You can't consciously think to yourself, I need to row, and also focus on what it is, the problem that you're facing. And so you're forced to let your body take over some of the conscious thinking of that, but then what you're also leaning on is that second servo mechanism. The other one that we'll touch on a little bit here now and a little bit later is sleep. So when you're thinking on something that's been really bugging you and you're not really sure how to kind of conquer it, you can take it to bed with you, journal it a little bit if you so desire, speak it out, and then you can sleep on it. And in sleep is when we get into those brain waves of theta, gamma, beta, all of that good stuff. And all I'm really saying is that you slow down your brain to get into REM sleep, and that frees up your ability to solve problems, look at things from a new perspective, generate some energy to tackle it, whatever is the case, right? So that's another way in which we can get consistently into a good flow of things to help us really get to maximum position. Last kind of piece there, as far as like if you're really looking to get into a good groove, if you can combine sleep, well, obviously we'll always sleep, but if you can combine good sleep with good zone 2 cardio, that combination will really give you a lot of peace of mind, creative ideas, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, because you're enabling your zone 2, or excuse me, you're enabling that flow state in two separate areas of the day. And so when you constantly revisit this state of flow, you're in more of a relaxed state, which means you're kind of more freeing up some of this creative mechanism to work for you. I'm going to take a drink here really quick. Today's episode is sponsored by, I can't even pronounce that energy drink, but I'm trying it out. It's been pretty good. I'm doing the mango guava energy and focus. Ooh, I like it. Okay, so jump back in here. So I will end this episode with 5 rules for freeing up the creative machinery, somewhat of what we were talking on. But before we do, let's talk one more thing. That is, don't jam your creative machinery. Said one more time, don't jam the creative machinery. So the more time we spend in conscious effort focusing on a problem, the more we're jamming our creative mechanism. That's why we need the balance of both of these servo mechanisms. And that's why you can't just think through the problem some of the times from start to finish, is because this system just gets too fuzzy, too overused, and too overheated, where it's like, holy cow, I just can't do any more of that. So when you get in those states and you can feel yourself in those states, that's when we need to look to some of these other mediums to help us out. Take, for example, when you set a goal, whether it's out or whether the outcome is known or unknown, most of the time we need to spend in our journey mode. And what I mean by this is, okay, conscious brain sets the goal. We know what we either want or we know the idea of what we want. And then within that, we need to flip into journey mode, which essentially in pursuit of this goal. And this mode understands that you're setting the goal, yet when you're pursuing the goal, you must be present in the process to allow the creative mechanism to guide you to that set goal. So let me kind of pull that together for us. So using the rational logical brain, in some ways, setting the goal for what you want. From there, you don't constantly think of that goal as you're pursuing the goal. You check into the goal on a daily basis, let's say, or a half-day basis, but you are enabling yourself to go out and into journey mode to go do the thing you need to do to achieve the goal. So I say this and bring this up because sometimes we get in trouble because we're looking too much and we get too focused on what the goal is. Once it's set, the mind and the servo mechanisms are solid. They just need you to go and go do. So take, for example, climbing a mountain, okay? So our main goal is to summit the mountain. We know that inherently, right? So if we were to think of ourselves the whole time climbing the mountain, talking to ourselves, we got to get to the top. We got to get to the top. We got to summit the mountain. We got to get to the top. That is going to cram into the creative mechanism that will enable us to be able to actually do that more efficiently. Now, why is that? And that is because we're spending too much time in logical and rational, and we need to enable more of the creative. And there's one word or kind of phase that comes to mind here, and that is being present in the process. So when we have the goal of summiting the mountain, the best thing we can do is to be present in the process of climbing. And I say that because as we're more present in the process of climbing, not only are we enjoying the journey more, but we're more open and receptive and relaxed to what might be the best outcome and solving problems and getting to the top. So again, we know the objective. Go summit the mountain, okay? But if we're jamming our creative too much, we will miss opportunities to make the proper course corrections to then be able to not only get there, but enjoy the journey. The whole part of the goal is the journey to get to the goal, right? So the more we can allow the success mechanism to work for us, the better off we're going to be. So if you've been someone jamming your creative machinery, let's look to flip out of that a little bit. All right, to conclude on a high note here, the 5 rules for freeing up your creative machinery. Rule number 1, prepare, plan, commit, and relax. So when it comes to planning and deciding the course of action, take the time to consider all your options, right? Take in the facts, do what you need to do in terms of preparation. Then once you feel like you have everything right, commit to your decision and then let it fly. Okay, this might sound simple, but there's kind of the second half here that's the peace of mind. Don't make the mistake of taking the decision and then in the midst of the decision going on, in which you can't control, you're trying to then make your calculations and then think through what you should have thought through. That is an error because once it's set in motion, you can't get it back. So in the book, they have this really funny thing about gambling. And so this guy struggled with this quite a bit as far as relaxing and letting just the results come to him. And what ended up happening is he would see people gamble and they would place their bets. And as soon as the machine would go or the game would go, they'd get super uptight and nervous. And he thought to himself, that's interesting. If you were so nervous about the risk, why wouldn't you factor that in before you let it fly? And he's absolutely right. Factor it all in, do what you need to do, take your time. But once you've committed to the decision, relax, have fun, and let it fly. So that's the first one. Prepare, plan, commit, relax. The biggest step being relax. Again, said another way, it's an error because you can't control the flywheel once the flywheel has been moving in circles. So think through things, then commit, let it fly. You can always adapt and readjust and learn in the future. The second modality is finding the present moment. We talked about this a little bit earlier. So our creative mechanism cannot function tomorrow or in the past. It only works right here, right now, in the present moment. Take time to plan out your long-term goals, then switch into today. Don't live for tomorrow as you may waste today, right? So what this is saying is that the creative mechanism can't function in the future or in the past. And the reason it can't do that is because it isn't here. So as you're going through your goal or going to your goal or going through your day, try to be as present as possible in the day. And I say that because it doesn't matter what you're worried about or anxious about in the future, that can't function properly in your system. Your system only knows what's right here and right now. So take the time to do what you need to do to think those things out. But when today is today, be with today. So creative living, this is a cool definition that he has in the book here. So creative living means responding and reacting to the environment spontaneously. I'm going to say that one more time. So creative living, so instead of creative mechanism or any other thing, we're talking about how we live our life creatively, responding and reacting to our environment spontaneously. I really like that definition. Okay, here's a little bit of tactical thing for you if you so desire. So live life in day-tight compartments. Plan for the future, yet live today as if it is a 24-hour cycle in the grand scheme of things of the plan. In AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a saying, don't try to stop drinking forever, simply say that you won't drink today. And I love those two things because if you do like planning, take your time, develop your plan, get your long-term plan, get your short-term plan. But as far as getting in the plan and being present in the plan, you need the 24-hour rule saying, okay, we already know what the parameters are. At the start of the day, the end of the day, we're going to check in to see if we're in our plan and moving forward. Yet when we're in that motion, in that 24-hour cycle, or just in today, we're not thinking about anything else but being in today, just like the AA rule. We're not thinking about not drinking forever. We're just not drinking today. Okay? So that was find the present moment. All right, that was the first one. That was the second one. The third one kind of corresponds with the second one here. And I really, really like this one. Number 3, try only to do one thing at a time. Try only to do one thing at a time. And the essence here is, as a common cause of the human condition, we try to do just too many things at once, right? This can cause immediate frustration and confusion regarding what you're supposed to do today. When we feel jittery, worried, and anxious in thinking of the great amount of work ahead of us, These feelings are not caused by the work itself, but by our mental attitude. Love that. We feel the need to do everything at once and try to work on too many projects at one time. Of course, this would lead to unproductive feelings because it's impossible to do everything at once. So, I get this really bad where it is like, okay, I have all these fun ideas. I have all these cool things that I'm working on. I want to do it right now. Well, no. The best way to approach it is to obviously plan it out. And then when you're working on it, be in that moment and be present to the one thing that you're doing at a time. And this is good. There's a lot of new science out there. I'm not going to bore you with the details on that, saying like deep work, focused work is the best work that we can produce. So try to do those things one thing at a time. And then furthermore, there's a wonderful example, and that is of an hourglass. Okay? The hourglass is the old school ones. Hopefully kids know what hourglasses are. So just as only one grain of sand can pass through the hourglass at one time, so too can we only work one thing at a time. The issue is rarely, again, the workload itself. It's thinking about the workload that consumes us. So even if you have a large workload, the only way to get through that workload with peace and best effort is to tackle one thing at a time. Think to yourself that you're feeding tasks, jobs, activities to yourself one at a time, and then allowing your success mechanism, creative mechanism to take over. So again, just to kind of round this out, one thing at a time. We are not, or if we are worried, anxious, jittery, thinking of, okay, that's not going to serve us because the workload is here, we're over here. All we need to focus on is prioritization of these things and then take it one thing at a time. And then as you begin to lay the bricks of one thing at a time, you realize, holy shit, I just got a lot of work done in that said time, in that said hour. So all that is to say, this is just a tactic to help you out. So we have the first one, which is prepare, plan, commit, relax. Second, be present. Third, try to do one thing at a time. Number 4, I won't go into too much detail with number 4. Simply sleep on it. Just remember, our creative mechanism does its best work when we're relaxed, and there's really no better time to be fully relaxed than when you're sleeping. So always remember, it's okay in life to sleep on it. Number 5, this is a little bit of a unique one, and it is written in the book as Relax While You Work, and I wanted to introduce this as a foothold for meditation. So I've dabbled in meditation. I know some people viewing this have maybe dabbled in meditation, and the biggest thing to me about relaxing while you work and also this meditation spinoff is as you get more into the practice of meditation, whether you're doing introspective or extrospective meditation, is the more you're into flow state. We kind of mentioned it earlier in the episode. When you start the day off, midday, late day, when you're doing these 5, 10, 20-minute meditations, what you're allowing your body to do, your body and your mind, is to fully relax, to breathe, and to only kind of become present with what is in front of you. So the more often that we're in the flow state, which is what is generated by meditation, the more we're going to be relaxed and the more we're able to kind of guide ourselves through the day. So the first 4 we have as kind of tactical things, right? Be present with what we're doing, try to do one thing at a time, plan, prepare, commit, relax, and sleep on it. This is more of a hack of, not even a hack, a practice of as you go through your day, your 24-hour cycle, you're taking some time to breathe, you're taking some time to think through what you need to think through, and maybe it's just becoming aware of the body, or maybe it's just becoming aware of the breath, or maybe it's just trying to relax a little bit to get into flow state, to be more calm and more loose. That way you're better responding to the environment that you're in for today, this week, this month, this year, etc. So that is chapter 6. Thank you guys so much for reading along. I'm so gracious to be able to share my creativeness, my creative kind of fun project with you guys in this book read. Let's keep reading, and I can't remember if it's over here or over here, but let's dive into chapter 7. God bless.